Well, it's always good to see friends here.
Recording in
Council
progress.
chamber. Welcome, everyone. It's 4 o'clock. We'll get started with our Washington City Council workshop meeting. Today is Wednesday, February 26, 2025, and we are in the City Council chamber at City Hall. Council, you have the agenda in front of you. I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Mayor.
I have a motion by Councilman Coates. Second by Councilman Belliston. All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved as outlined. We'll start with item number 1, which is our VACA victim report. This is an annual appearance by our victim advocate, Shelley Candelaria. Good to see you, Shelley.
Okay, I just have the numbers that we worked with as a department for the most recent fiscal year. So family fights, we served 156 people or victims, and harassment cases were 58, stalking cases were 7, assault cases were 40, threatenings were 27, and gunshot incidents were 2. Protective order violations were 26 and rape cases were 4. So all of those victims came through our department and we helped serve. Do you have any questions?
Has it gone down from last year or no?
So we're growing, and so understandably so, some of these increase. So.
Have you seen any specific trends?
I haven't seen a lot of trends so far, other than social media use in some of these. So that is going up as social media increases.
Well, appreciate all that you do. I think a lot of times, we see the incidences in the newspaper and on TV and stuff, but then you forget about the victims. Sometimes they, don't have a voice and aren't recognized, and so that's such an important job that you do in service. So thank you.
Thank you.
Are you feeling like you're getting the support you need from the department and from the city?
Yes.
Yeah. We all feel very grateful and fortunate to have you.
Thank you.
I know it's a challenging job. We know it's a challenging job. Can you tell us maybe how is there a level of satisfaction that you get in helping those in difficult circumstances? What joy do you find in your job?
I have one case that I've been working with her for over a year now, and when she first came in, she was recently out of the situation, and she had a hard time making simple choices for herself because she wasn't used to it or anything, and working with her regularly, getting her into therapy, getting her services, and also helping her with the court hearings and stuff. She is now becoming a life coach for people in other domestic violence situations and helping them navigate what they're going through as well. So that's amazing. That's a position where I get to see the growth and I get to see the good side of what happens after all of this.
You make a difference as they put their lives back together.
I try.
Thank you, and thank you for your report. We always enjoy seeing you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Virgin River Land Trust. And a lot of friends would like to welcome back former City Attorney Stephen Snow, former City Council member Colleen Granger, and a lot of other friends that we know. We would love to hear from all of you. Tell us about the Virgin River Land Preservation Association.
Well, thank you, Mayor. It's great to be here. We have a...
He just went out to have IT, see if they can get it up for us.
Okay.
I don't...
It's really wonderful to be back. Just on a personal note, I was asked in 1980 by Raldo Turner to be he was on the council to be the city attorney, and he asked me if I'd be interested. I said yes, and so that was start of 20 years of representing the city, which I enjoyed immensely. A lot of meetings, but it was a wonderful time. I remember back then, when I first started, the council swore that there'd be no development in the fields. They were just going to stay agriculture. And but I think we only had a few hundred people in town back then, so it's just amazing what's happened. I want to congratulate the city too on the Kirkland Park property. I just think that's an amazing thing that you've done there with that beautiful property along the river and the trail. That really is very nice. We've been visiting city councils, planning commissions, and telling them a little bit about, just a little introduction about the Virgin River Land. The official name is Preservation Association, but we go by most people know us as the Virgin River Land Trust. We were formed in the mid-90s, so we've been doing business for about 32 years. And at the time, our trust was formed, Land Trust was formed, there's only one other one, and that was in Park City. And sometimes we're thought of as an environmental organization, which is really, we hope that we enhance the environment, but we really aren't an environmental group per se. We deal in land trusts, which we deal with willing sellers and willing buyers. We don't usually buy the land outright. What we'll do, say you have a ranch, we'll buy the development rights on that ranch, and then you can continue to ranch as long as you want. You can sell the ranch. It just has to stay for that purpose. A conservation easement is recorded to make certain the land is treated the same way. Goes with ag land, undeveloped property as well. Sometimes the development rights are very valuable on some of the, I just think for example, Larry Adams' property down in the fields, you know, the development rights on that would be very valuable at this point in time. But we've had some successes over the years, but as property values increase, we find it ever more challenging to protect the property that we'd like to protect. Can you pull those up now? Let me introduce I wanted to introduce to you our members. As I said, my name's Steve Snow. Chris Blake he's a former mayor of Ivins. He's on our board. Denny Drake, who's a former county commissioner and also former mayor of Santa Clara, excuse me. And Colleen Granger, who was a council member here and former superintendent of schools. Mary Jo Hafen, are you currently on the council or were on the council in Santa Clara? Kurt Ivey, who's on our board as well, on your council. Dennis Kay, who's with the Division of Wildlife, retired from the Division of Wildlife Resources. And Danielle Larkin, who's on the St. George City Council. And then Bill McMurran, who's been with us from the very beginning. He's kind of the heart and soul of this organization. And of course, Kent Perkins, who has done so much for the area in recreational development. Every time I walk or ride on the trails by the river, I have warm thoughts for Kent Perkins. And so he's also just joined our board. So that's the board. I think you can see that we're kind of broadly distributed through the three communities at least, Santa Clara, St. George, and Washington. And we've had some successes over the years. We'd like to share some of those with you. First of all, our mission statement, which is on the board now, is working with communities and landowners to preserve southwestern Utah's heritage of scenic beauty, open lands, and quality of life. So again, we deal with most of the people we work with come to us and ask, is there some way we can get a conservation easement on our property? And so, like I said, they're very willing sellers. It's, again, to protect the lands. This is some of the examples, the Grafton Schoolhouse. We were involved with many others in a partnership to protect the Grafton town side. And we purchase land, but we also accept land donations, which has been the case. Sometimes people have actually just donated the development rights to us. More often than not, we purchase the development rights. And we purchase like conservation easement or the development rights. And we've also accepted conservation easements as donations too. This is in Pine Valley, and we worked with the Gardner family to have all of that property put under that's all, you see the main street coming into the chapel, and all of those fields there belong to the Allen Dean Twig Gardner family. And there's a variety of, all those things have happened. They've donated some, and we've purchased the development rights on a lot of that. The 2 acres right across the street from the chapel there, do you see those? The 2 little squares? Mm-hmm. My brother purchased one of those with his partner to make sure it was protected, and we ended up getting conservation easement on that. And then, was it the Judd or Nielsen family? Yeah, Judd Nielsen family on the other piece. So that's one example where I think we've really made an impact. So your kids and grandkids, when they drive into the valley, they'll be able to see it just as it is today. So, yeah, there's a little bit more there to the east. We're still working with the landowners. This is another shot of it as you go in.
That's great. Of course, Alan's a Washington City resident, just lives a
Yeah,
few blocks
right,
from
that's
here.
right. Yeah, they've been exceptionally generous and really worked hard with us to do this. Another area, one of the first successes was 400 acres at Confluence Park, where LeBurkin Creek comes into the Virgin River down below there. I wasn't really aware of that property. It's really a nice property down in there if you haven't had a chance to see it. Haven't seen it yet. Middleton Wash, 7 acres. And then Smith Mesa, we have 2,750 acres are under conservation easement on the mesa. It's really beautiful up there because you see so many of the park and so forth. And also the historic mill site down by the river, Babylon, which is south of Leeds. It's 7 acres. That was given to the BLM. East Zion, 312 acres are under a conservation easement that we worked on. This is one that we partnered with Nature Conservancy and some other organizations. This is south of Virgin, really beautiful area called Sheep Bridge. So there's 419 acres that we worked with Nature Conservancy on that. We find on some of these big parcels, it helps to have partners that have a national footprint that can help us raise the money because it is so expensive. Is this Washington or?
Mr. Snow, can I ask you a question about another one that may be on your radar?
Yeah.
There's a property on the east side of the Virgin River, in the south part of the fields, where, as I understand, historically was part of the Honeymoon Trail, and the Smith family. Of course, Tuacon's on the agenda tonight. There's an old parcel down there that may be something that's worth preserving, that we've had just brief, high-level conversations with them, but it seems like it might be something more in your scope than in ours.
Well, we'd partner with you, do whatever, help raise money for it.
That's something that maybe, I know Councilman Ivy's been
The city
down there.
could actually hold title to the property, and we could help.
That may be
with
something
getting
we
the
could talk to.
conservation
I think there's some historical significance to it.
Okay, great. This is an aerial photo of when the our land trust was formed in 1993. That's the way Washington City looked, and this is the way it looks now, 30 years later. So you can see we've really tried to work hard, but we're a small organization, and we just can't keep up with it.
We didn't keep the fields.
No, that kind of, we saw that coming. But it's worth protecting. I think that's one reason why so many people are attracted here is because of the beauty of the area. And I think we should do our best not to foul the nest too much. We understand that real estate development and construction are two of the largest. You know, I really hate these iPhone watches, but those are two of the biggest industries in the county, of course. But again, we deal with willing sellers that are willing to keep the land the way they'd like to have it kept. Something they worked for, many of them, to develop a farm or a ranch, and they'd like to kind of keep that going on through the generations. Anything else? Do you have any questions for us? Kurt,
Yeah,
any?
I got a question.
Sure, Craig.
So you don't own any of the land, right? Usually you work with an entity that typically has land, like a city or the Conservancy District, or do you guys own land yourself as the?
We don't like to own land. I think we ended up owning one or two pieces, but generally private landowners come to us. So owner of a ranch. We have worked with cities, partnered with cities, St. George on Webb Hill to try to do some protections there. And but generally the parties we work with are private landowners.
Steve, I think you did a really good job explaining what the land trust does. I know when I first was approached by this group, I started thinking about it. When you hear conservation, it kind of, you don't really understand what that means, but really what you're doing is providing a means to protect beautiful, pristine areas from purchasing the development rights, so it stays that way, but yet the property owner gets some value out of the property to keep it in that. And there's areas all around. I've been so intrigued with the properties that we've talked about, and from Zions to Santa Clara and even up towards Enterprise, it's just been really good. But that was something that I learned, that conservation doesn't mean the same thing that it means in the world. It means that we want to preserve this area for everyone to enjoy, and by doing that, we're going to raise money and buy the development rights and then keep it that way forever for everyone to enjoy.
And it's a win-win for the developer, or for the owner of the property. They get the income as if they would have developed it, but they still continue to get, they're able to use it as it now is.
Councilman Henderson.
I was just gonna say, I really love and support that business model as a way to conserve beautiful property. A willing seller and a willing buyer, that's beautiful music to my ears, so wonderful.
Just wish we'd had unlimited coffers back when we started. We worked on the Washington Fields a little more.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up with the demand right now. It's areas growing, as you know, just leaps and bounds.
And as it grows, those coming in and those who have been here for generations, everyone appreciates open space.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people don't really understand what it takes to create and maintain open space. One question I had for you, do you ever work with government agencies, for example, the Bureau of Land Management or state trust lands and those?
Yes, and
There's some properties I can think of that maybe we should have a conversation on to kind of protect.
Yeah, we actually, they were interested in the Babylon site that we ended up with. We don't like to necessarily hold land, so we deeded it or sold it to them. They actually paid us for the Babylon mill site. So we work with them. We're not always, but on occasion we do. And we partner, as I said, with cities, St. George, and we're happy to work with you on any piece that, if you need a little funding and we could help in some way, or whatever we could do to help, give us a chance.
We really appreciate that, and honestly, to just see some of our friends here, and welcome back people who know their way around the building. It's really means a lot that you would all take time out of your busy schedules to be here. Is there anything else that you or this group would like to share with the council and with the city?
I just came in here. I don't think I've been in this building since my son had his wedding reception here. It was brand new. Riley had his wedding reception here back in 2001. So thanks very much. It's really great to to have a chance to visit with you a few minutes. And thanks for your service. I know what it means, so.
Well, we certainly appreciate the many years of service and foundation that you laid here, Steve. You've set a great standard and precedent, and we still only have one attorney, and he's sitting right across from me. He's doing a great job too. But you've set the bar pretty high.
Well, thank you, and I just loved it. It was great to be with the city.
Thank you all. And Toad, we'll see you at the softball games here in a month or so. The next item of business on the workshop agenda is a presentation from Tuacahn. Welcome. We're enjoying the swag tonight, and if you'd just introduce yourself and give us an update on Tuacahn. And
No, absolutely. There we go, work with me. Oh, good evening. My name is Chance Peterson, and I am a development officer at Tuacahn. And first and foremost, I wanted to say thank you on behalf of Tuacahn for the $20,000 donation from Washington City last year to help us put in 500 additional seats into our outdoor amphitheater, allowing us to impact more families every single night. As a nonprofit theater, your support makes a massive difference. I would now like to take the time to give an annual report of Tuacahn in 2024. We had an estimated $150 million impact on our communities, with over 350,000 people visiting Tuacahn to one of our Broadway shows, concerts, or other events. It was a record year for Tuacahn, with the regional premieres of Frozen, Anastasia, and the first ever PG-rated version of Jersey Boys. Frozen actually came out to be Tuacahn's #1 best-selling show in our 30 years. And in part, thanks to those 500 additional seats that we were able to put in.
yeah, and my wife and daughters really enjoyed it too.
Oh, thank goodness.
I'll let them know they were part of a record-breaking show.
Yes, absolutely. No, but we really wanted to just say thank you for your continued support. And we hope to see you at a show this year for Tuacahn's 30th anniversary.
What shows are on tap for this season?
So for this year, it's Little Mermaid, Wizard of Oz, and Newsies will be our Broadway shows. We will be doing Elf, the musical, at the end of this year, and then $1 Million Quartet will be January 2026.
Okay, is Elf in the Hafen Theater?
That'll be an indoor show. That'll be in
Okay.
the Haven Theater.
Okay.
So I think if you read your email that Shelley sent out a couple days ago, we did buy tickets for an employee appreciation night to Little Mermaid. So make sure you put that on your calendar. We're going to come. to Little Mermaid.
I just worry a little bit about Councilman Bellison wanting to be front row for that production, but
I think he requested Little Mermaids.
Is it? There'll be a lot of water effects at that one this year. So it'll be a lot
then
of
definitely
fun.
we'll request Councilman Bellison on the front row for the water effects.
Perfect. But we did make too many souvenir mugs, and we have enough for everyone here. Would any of the city council members want one at this time? If not, it's okay. I can take them back. No, that's okay. But
I think you could leave them and we'll
absolutely,
distribute them.
no, that sounds good. But thank you.
Chance, Tuacahn's wonderful. I mean, Broadway in the desert, it's a real, it adds real value to the whole entire Dixie area. And apparently they have some red rocks on the west side of the county like we have here on the east side. So it makes for a really neat venue and special memories and opportunities. So thank you for that update, and it's been our pleasure to support Tuacahn to the extent that we can as part of the community. If you just pass that appreciation back to Kevin Smith and Darren and those guys as well.
No, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, I didn't ask if you had any questions or comments. Okay. And now it's really the item we've all been waiting for tonight is the wastewater impact fee facilities plan and analysis. Our resident rock star, Lester Dalton, is going to present on this item and got plenty of support in the crowd there. Mr. Dalton.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, council. It's good to see you guys again. This is kind of the next step after the capital facilities plan that we have Bowen Collins put together for us. Hope everybody got an opportunity to read the briefing document. Kind of gives you a little bit of background on this, where our current impact fee is, and as well as the impact fee prior to this. I've got Aaron Anderson here with Bowen Collins. He's going to be able to go through the details of it and kind of give you a breakdown as to where things are, as well as the recommended impact fee as we move forward until we perform another capital facilities plan and see what our needs are at that time. Historically, we try to do these capital facilities plans on about a 5-year window that we really start diving in and looking at it. We try and establish the impact fees on that 10-year window, just in case, like where we're at today, we run a little bit long. Our previous impact fee facilities plan was done in 2017, and at that time there was actually a reduction in the impact fee from the 2009 plan. So I provided you guys with them numbers. Keep in mind that our impact fee that we keep here in Washington City is just for the collection system. There's also an additional impact fee that we pass through directly to St. George for the treatment of the effluent once it leaves our city. We do not treat our own, so that goes through to the regional treatment facility down in Bloomington. If you guys have got any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, I believe Aaron's got a presentation ready to go. Hopefully IT's got it loaded up and makes it easy on him.
Just one quick question, Mayor, if that's okay.
Yes.
Lester, St. George sets that rate for their.
That's correct.
And so that's just, we just abide by what they set it at.
Correct.
Right? And I see that we were 1159 from 2009 to 2017, and then 17 it dropped down to 980, and now we're back up. So it looks to me like we're trying to keep it as low as possible.
Correct.
And then we adjust to growth and adjust to the impact and go forward. Is that
Yes.
kind of the way you do it?
Yeah, it's kind of a 10-year forward-looking plan. Where do we see ourselves being in 10 years? And that's kind of an interesting place to be, because you never really know where growth is. We have to kind of project where we think it's going to happen and include them projects within that 10-year growth.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think that's a good way forward. Encourage you to continue to charge what we have to, but not anymore.
Right. With that, unless we've got more questions for me, I'd like to have Aaron come up, and hopefully Steve's got us loaded up. And I don't know where the remote is. That probably has it hidden again.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon/evening, council. It's good to be with you this evening. Like Lester said, I'm going to go through a summary presentation of the impact fee facilities plan and impact fee analysis. So if you have questions as you go through this, go ahead and just stop me and I can hopefully address your questions. These first couple slides are just some very quick review of the capital facilities plan. Again, the CFP is what provides the basis for the impact fee calculation. And so as a recap, again, we look at growth in terms of the equivalent residential unit, which we use to normalize all of the different development in the city to one common metric of an equivalent home. The existing system has approximately 17,421 ERUs that are in your current system. The next two bullets here just recap our level of service calculations for existing users and for new users. That's broken out into two components. One is the domestic flow, which is the water that intentionally enters the sewer from a home. And then there also is an infiltration component. I mean, no matter how well you build a system, they're usually going to be susceptible to some infiltration of groundwater getting in the system. And so we account for that in our capacity calculations. So those two values represent the, again, level of service for existing and for new customers. We did, as we discussed during the capital facilities plan, assume a lower value of infiltration for new users. That's based on the idea that new construction methods are going to be better, less prone to leaks than maybe some previous construction means and methods in the past.
Is that 46 gallons per user of
user.
infiltration water?
Yes,
Wow,
yeah.
that's a lot. Yeah.
It's fairly high, and again, the way we calculated that, just to recap, is we have metered points in your system where we're measuring how much flow is in the sewer. And then we estimate how much of that, the component of that flow comes from the homes based on winter water use data. So in January and February, most, if not all, water use should be indoors. There shouldn't be much irrigation occurring, so we can correlate that indoor water use to sewer flow. And then the difference in flow we see measured in the sewer has to be coming from somewhere else, and that's our infiltration component. So it is significant, but it's most systems, all systems have some component of infiltration, some more than others, but it's just based on groundwater levels. A lot of the fields has pretty shallow groundwater, so you probably have some areas that are infiltrating a little
Does
bit.
it come through like faulty fittings or just holes?
It can come
or-
through a litany of things. So manholes have joints in them, right?
Manholes,
So there's
okay, yeah.
mastic that goes in there that's supposed to seal that, but it doesn't always seal it perfectly. So you have water that can weep in through manholes. Water can weep in through joints in pipe, or if there's, a connection that's maybe adjusted over time. Some roots have grown into a pipe and cracked it. There's a lot of ways that infiltration gets in there, and it's common. This is not
Right.
it's not an
Yeah,
atypical thing for a system. As a quick recap, again, we utilized the city growth rates that were developed as part of your culinary water master plan. So again, this just summarizes our forecasted 10-year growth and 20-year growth for the system. And so over the next 20 years, we anticipate an additional 22,000 ERUs. So the city is essentially going to more than double in size based on our forecasted growth. Based on the inputs, then we took those flow projections and modeled them in a hydraulic computer model and determined where we had capacity issues in the system. And again, the capital facilities plan goes into detail on what the results of that analysis, and also summarizes here the projects that we recommend the city undertake in the next 10 years and the next 20 years to address the growth needs of the community. And that's what's summarized here in this map. And again, these projects are what are part of what goes into our impact fee calculation. We have to fund these new projects, and those new projects, the cost of those new projects are assigned proportional to the new users that come in and utilize that capacity. So with that, I'm sure you're probably familiar with what an impact fee is, but just very quickly, an impact fee is a one-time fee to new growth to offset the cost of infrastructure needed to service developments, right? It's a one-time payment made to help offset those costs that the city incurs to facilitate growth in the city. Important impact fee concepts to keep in mind as you read through the full document. These are all discussed in there, but we have the level of service we talked about, and that is defined as how much sewer flow do we anticipate per connection. So the fee we're charging is tied to that level of service. Project level versus system level improvements is important to keep in mind. A project level improvement is one that a individual developer has the burden to build. So within the subdivision, they've got to build their own sewer lines. Those are project level improvements, whereas the impact fee facilities plan contemplates the system level improvements, those that are servicing multiple developments or larger regions of the city. The impact fee takes into account not only the new capacity that is being built in the CFP or recommended in the CFP, but also it recaptures costs of projects already constructed that are already in the ground that have excess capacity that new home builder can utilize to convey their sewer flows. And as Lester talked about, we look at a 10-year planning window. The impact fee law says that the impact fee money, when it's collected, has to be spent or encumbered within 6 years. And this 10-year planning window is essentially the industry standard for looking at impact fees. So money comes in year 1, has to be spent by year 6. Money that comes in during year 4 has to be spent by year 10. So the 10-year
First
plan.
in, first out.
First in, first out, yeah. And so this 10-year planning window is the generally accepted time frame of what's acceptable for impact fee planning. And the impact fee, really, it boils down to a pretty simple calculation. The total impact fee boils down to the proportionate share of existing facilities plus the proportionate share of new facilities. So again, what has the city already invested in the system? What have you already paid for? Is there excess capacity that new development's going to utilize? If so, then that new development pays their fair share of that existing infrastructure, and they pay their fair share of the new infrastructure coming in to support their growth. That makes sense. There's 2 components to the impact fee. This table summarizes those 2 components. And so if you look at the existing facilities, as we coordinated and looked through the information provided by the city on existing projects, there is approximately just under $7 million of projects that have been constructed that are system level improvements that are going to be utilized by new growth. And then based on our forecasting and modeling, we anticipate these percentages are going to be utilized by growth in the next 10 years. And that gives us a cost to service that 10-year growth of that $3.9 million. Then we simply divide that number across our forecasted 10-year growth, and we get a cost per ERU of $362 per connection. Then we do the same exact thing with new projects. Look at our new projects to be constructed in the 10-year window. Look at the proportionate share of the capacity of those new projects to be utilized by growth in the 10-year window. Anything falling outside that 10-year window is not included, so those costs will be borne by users beyond the 10-year window. And then we do the same math. That comes out to that $8.4 million. We divide that number into the total ERUs over our 10-year window, add the two numbers together, and that gets us to the $1,135.42. That'd be the max allowable impact fee that the city could assess in sewer. To compare that number, just so you can compare with other communities in the area, this bar chart just shows where that would put Washington with respect to the other cities. It puts you, compared to other cities, on the higher end, but still less than Ash Creek Special Service District. So you're right in the middle of the pack, so to speak, in terms of impact fees. And again, like Lester said, there's a component of your impact fee, that $13.79, that's tied up in St. George's regional collection facilities and treatment facilities.
One of our previous impact fee adjustments, I remember 2 or 3 of the cities were like a year behind us for their review. Is Santa Clara or Ivins or St. George, are these recent numbers, or are they, due for another adjustment?
Yeah, so these are gonna be adjusted soon. So our company is working on the St. George Impact Fee Facilities Plan right now, as well as Ivins. And Santa Clara's is also being revised. And we are also working on an update to Ash Creek. So really, all these 4 are probably gonna be updated within the next year.
So they'll be a little bit closer to what we are probably.
This is a snapshot of now, and I don't know where their numbers are gonna go, but this is a snapshot right now. This is gonna change within a year or less to where those numbers will be different.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Explain the math on the Ash Creek line. The number. That's their calculated impact fee based on their capital facilities plan. It's calculated with the same methodology. Yeah, well, they collect and treat all their own wastewater, so there's not really a local, and if that's what you're asking. Theirs is all just one because they collect and treat all their wastewater. Yep. Okay, that's the presentation. Questions, comments?
Council, comments, discussion, questions for Aaron?
I think you've talked about this before, but where does the estimated growth rate, where do you get those numbers from for the growth in this city? And then would St. George be different than ours because of their, the land that's available or anything like that? So their numbers could be different, not only because of the size or, they haven't done it for some time, but what are where do you get the projections for the growth?
So the growth projections for Washington came from the Culinary Water Capital Facilities Plan. That was numbers that city staff, I believe, spent time working out, and I don't know if the council was involved in those, but I know that city staff spent time developing those growth projections. So we just utilized those same growth projections that were developed as part of the water impact fee or water capital facilities plan. That's the history that I am familiar with in those numbers. To your point on the growth rate, impact fees in a general sense, they can have minor increases or decreases as a result of the growth rate, but they usually don't have a significant difference because usually the projects they're gonna go in line proportional with the growth, right? So as I add more connections, I'm adding more projects, but the proportionality of cost versus the number of users that I'm dividing those costs into usually stays pretty consistent, meaning that, does that make sense? And so back to this, if we were to, just to further kind of on that example, let's see, if I were to go here, and if I had a higher growth rate, it may have resulted in higher capital costs. So instead of 12 million, say it goes to 15 or 16 million, but my denominator or my ERU serviced also is increasing at the same time. And so my unit price usually stays pretty consistent.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
It just, the proportionality stays pretty much the same. Now that's not always the case because sometimes really rapid growth may trigger like a really expensive project that otherwise wouldn't come into that planning window. In those cases, you might see a rapid jump, but usually with your city, because it's all just collection, it's gonna be pretty proportional where if we were to ramp the growth up or knock the growth down, those project costs would have gone up and down proportionally.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
So Aaron, when you also include that, I mean, every city has its own needs, and when you add different needs for different areas, it adds more. I mean, it adds more cost for some. Like I know some smaller cities have a lot less residents to work from and more money to spend on certain projects.
Yeah,
Which affect the impact fee, I guess is what I'm trying to get at, is that can vary between cities based on the needs and the amount of residents that it's gonna be facilitating.
And I would also just say even proximity to where the treatment facility is. I mean, we've got a pipe in some instances quite a bit further to tie into our neighbor's system.
Yeah, and it's interesting to look at St. George's. I mean, I'm shocked there's just so little, but they have a lot of infrastructure in place already.
what's interesting about St. George is when you look at their system, the majority of it is regional infrastructure, meaning the majority of their collection system is touched by your city or Ivins or Santa Clara.
Yeah.
And so most of their projects are regional projects. You know, when you look at where a lot of their growth is, it's happening within these corridors where they're just on a regional system. So they're shared lines, and in such, they become a regional project to where that cost is shared by the
All of
city
us,
and
which is our
everyone.
regional fee right here.
Right, correct.
So we're paying for some of their upsizes.
Yes, yep.
You know, the context here is we're just have a little bit of time for conversation, but one of the reasons this is such a critical component of our overall water policy is just the regional reuse and purification that we're working towards regionally. So, and it's interesting to see that, you know, a few years back, 7 or 8 years ago, we were a little higher, dropped a little, and with this current analysis, the recommendation is still less than what the not the most current, but the preceding impact fee was.
Yeah.
So just, what was the old one? It's more a question for Lester, but you might know. What's our current one? Oh, there.
I believe the
it is,
current number
980.
is like 980, is that
And we
right?
went to okay, 980, we're going to 1135.
Yeah, so it's about a $150 increase.
Yeah, it's not. When we started this process, I was like, because we were scared because water jumped so much, right? We just had a lot of infrastructure needs. But power's come in reasonable, and now sewer's coming in reasonable in my mind with just the inflation we've seen. So,
I'm wondering about this picture on the cover sheet. I'm not sure if it's SWIP compliant. Can you turn to that?
The picture on the cover sheet.
This picture of a sewer cover. Burning
John, did you want to
debris.
address that, or
not supposed to bring up.
Mr. Hinkie?
On the
I'm not
cover
sure
of
if
the,
that's
on the
SWIP
cover of the
compliant.
report.
I would get a correction notice for this.
Sorry, that's my Salt Lake tech writer putting the report together.
Yeah, that's
trying to use kind of an arts-
manhole from Salt Lake. That now it makes a lot more sense. We've walked those
Sorry.
streets before.
It would have been more offensive if he.
That's them taking their artsy fartsy look at our cover. So yeah, we can switch that if that's going to cause some grief. Yeah, it's just it's a dirty manhole that's,
I'm just glad it wasn't the adjacent neighbor's manhole lid cover.
Council, you've heard the information, you've read the report and the analysis. Are you ready for this to come back in our first March 12th meeting?
I am.
As an action item. Any concerns with that? Feel okay about it? This side, Councilman Caspin? Okay. So now with just a few minutes to kill, Lester, we've had a few big projects with sewer recently. Will you just give us an update on those projects and then also what's on deck, what's coming next as far as sewer projects?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Mayor. The most recent project that we just completed was a segment of a larger project going down 2000 South, as well as a portion of it on Washington Fields Road. We partnered with a development and got through that new Heritage Place development. And like I said, this is an overall larger project. This is a major outfall line that's going to go all the way through and ultimately connect down at the intersection of Sandia Drive and Merrill Road. We're currently under design with that piece. So we're going to be teaming up a little bit with St. George and some regional facilities down there at the intersection, as well as PRI with that piece of the LDS property just south of that.
When you talk about coordination, so I mean, obviously we put these sewer lines under roads, so are we gonna try to time that for any rebuilds or new builds that they're doing? And
that's exactly
we're kind of
what we're trying to
prepared for the
accomplish.
disruption to traffic flow?
Yes. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, is coordinate this with the new development that's happening in St. George so that we get our facilities in there as part of that construction.
Good.
And then ultimately that project will extend all the way through to 20 East. And part of that is going to be reconstruction of that segment of Merrill Road. That's in the Streets Department budget as well.
So let me make sure we understand you. So our Merrill runs east-west.
Correct.
And 20 East is north-south.
Runs north-south.
So where are we running this line?
So we'll be running on the south side of Merrill Road with this line, bring it all the way from Sandia all the way through to 20 East on the south side of Merrill. Part of that will be the reconstruction of that roadway. Oh, does it? If I can figure out how to run the clicker.
There we go.
Yes, it does actually show it. So it's going to be
The yellow and green?
yellow and green. The project that we're looking at is this big one right here.
Okay, and that's 20 East when it goes north?
Right.
I thought we just did a sewer project on that.
We did this
Oh,
here, as well as a segment.
up to Washington Dam Road and Washington Fields Road.
So we're just barely,
But we didn't go south on 20 East yet, or west on Merrill.
the next segment that's going to get constructed will be through to this location as part of what's going on in St. George.
Yeah.
Their development activity. That'll be here, and our intent is to carry it all the way to here, as long as we've got budgeted for it this next year. We're gonna have to kind of see how pricing comes in. And the final phase, if we don't have enough funds to do it as part of this project, the final phase will be making that last connection between.
Okay. Blake, do you have anything you'd like to add on that?
I don't know if he was gonna talk about industrial, but yes, this was a project that really needed to be done several years ago and was bid out as an entire piece and had a really good bid, but we, at that time, decided it was too expensive. So now we're doing it pieces and putting it together. They're basically like the line that we just put in, on 2000 and Washington Fields Road is not active. Is it?
A portion of it is.
A little piece
with
of
the
it is,
temporary
but
pipe.
most of it's empty, waiting for this rest of this pink project to go in.
The surface, the road looks great on 2000 now, 2000
we'll-
South.
And we have been coordinating together with the streets as well, because we know that section of Merrill Road also is falling apart all over, similar to where 2000 was. And so we're going to repair that road.
replace that as well, just like we did with 2000 and Sandia.
That's great.
So we'll have some.
Is there any widening on 20 East for now, or not really? I mean, we're waiting for development on that.
We're gonna wait for development on that, but we did purchase the property to be able to do this, to do the sewer line down on
Yeah,
the
I
side.
know you
there.
worked on that.
And then you're gonna mention industrial? too?
Yes, yes. So another major project that we did, I don't know if it shows up on this, it does not show up on this map, was a segment down through, just off of Industrial Road. It's the primary outfall for the entire area north of the Virgin River. And this is a project I've been working on the entire time I've been here. I've been here 20-plus years. We finally got right away. We finally got all of the parts and pieces together that we could actually do this project. And it was a major portion of the outfall system from Industrial Road down through Steel Structures Yard and then across Theobald Construction Yard. That's where we connected to the regional facility, and that's one that I'm glad to have finally gotten done, because it was looking pretty scary for a minute. But it's in place, it's active now. I'm sure the council remembers another project that we did that was right here, kind of in the heart of Washington. We did a repair and rehabilitation, basically a full replacement of 2 segments of sewer system, one on 300 South from Main Street to 100 East. And then we also did a segment on 400 South from 100 East to 200 East. And then we're rehabilitation of old system. It just reached the end of its useful life and was becoming more maintenance than we could keep up with. So that's kind of where we're at today and the next major projects that we've got underway, and there will be more to come.
Some of those old pipes that you run into, I mean, are you,
Our system, overall, our system's in pretty dang good shape. The piping systems that were in place back then, we don't use them anymore, but at least they were a plastic product that had some longevity to
I
it.
mean, are they from the 50s, 60s, 40s,
No, we're
70s?
late 70s.
70s, okay.
Yeah. When the city sewer system first went in, it was late 70s, and the majority of this old part of town, that's how it's set up.
Originally, there was a 2 sewer pond system just south of where the animal control facility is, where all of the developed area of the city would flow and collect in those. And then in the 70s, the city went to an actual sewer system, and those ponds ceased to exist.
I did a job once right by the temple downtown, and we tore an old house down and had to put a 6-inch line. We built a duplex, put a 6-inch line into what was in the street. And the pipe was so old that they had to order a special part somewhere that took a few days to even, I don't know what it was. It was like old clay pipe or something. I don't
Yeah, it was
know.
probably old vitrified clay, which the reality is it's a pretty dang good product for
I mean,
a
it
sewer
seemed
system.
like it was pretty stout.
As
It was
long
just
as you
old.
never plant a tree anywhere in the general vicinity
Yeah,
of it. The
yeah.
trees and the roots it is not a tight enough system to keep the roots out. And they just, we're lucky enough, I thought we had all of our clay out of the system, but we just found another line. So we do have one line, it's up on the upper end of 300 East,
yeah.
that's
That's
clay that
interesting.
we're gonna have to address. Luckily, right now, everything's in good shape, and if all it's doing, if it's still functioning and we don't have any trees close to cause us problems, it'll probably outlast the PVC that we're putting in today.
Is the orange pipe the clay pipe, or is that a different? It's the orange pipe, yeah.
Yeah, it's an orange color, it's kind of a terracotta color. There's another product out there that's referred to as Orangeburg, and luckily, we don't have any.
That
'Cause
crumbles and falls apart, doesn't it?
You've seen what a paper towel roll is?
That's
Well, it's basically a paper towel roll, and they just painted it with tar, and that was the piping system.
So one last question from me. Do you have occasion that you still are seeing like rain gutter water being put in storm drains or anything like that, or is that kind of rectified itself?
It's pretty well rectified itself. I'm sure that we have some. We don't run into it very often. It's very infrequent. You know, I heard the discussion about the infiltration, that kind of stuff. That's part of that component,
yeah.
because that's not what would've came, what would've came through the meter. But also, that's gonna be more of a peaking environment, related to weather events. So we don't really see that showing up a whole lot.
Our weather events hasn't put much water anywhere lately, have they?
Right. Which,
Very true.
that's another scary topic.
Thanks for all you do, Lester. Thanks for doing the work. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate all of you. Well
And
done.
We'll get this back on the agenda for adoption.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, council, we finished a full agenda 30 minutes early. So I'll call for a motion to adjourn this meeting. We'll reconvene at 6 o'clock.
So made, Mayor.
A motion by Councilman Ivy,
Second.
second by Councilman Coates. All in favor? We stand adjourned until 6 p.m. for our regular meeting. Straight up, today is Wednesday, February 26, 2025. We are in the council chamber at City Hall. As a reminder, our meetings are streamed live at washingtoncity.org/meetings and also archived for later viewing. We will start our meeting this evening with Reverend Dr. Ralph Klingen of the Good Shepherd Presbyterian Church, representing the Interfaith Council. Reverend Klingen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the St. George Area Interfaith Council, I would like to extend our great appreciation for the support that we continue to receive from Washington City Council by inviting us to indeed to open your meetings. We are very grateful for this. Let us join in prayer. Gracious Lord, we do give you thanks for the gift of this day, for all that's been accomplished and for all that lies ahead, and for our great nation conceived upon the ideals of liberty and justice for all. We uplift to you this evening our great state, our governor, legislature, and at this time uplift particularly the Honorable Mayor Staley and the Washington City Council. We would ask for their blessing and for their keeping. Continue to guide and direct them in all their deliberations. We uplift to you their families who sacrifice their time with their loved ones, and indeed that the community might be bettered by their service. We pray for this community. We pray for friends, neighbors, for all to continue to live together, seeking a better life and way for all. We would uplift our schools, our children, all that binds us to each other and to you. Continue now to bless us and keep us. Continue to walk with us. For this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I've asked Police Chief Jason Williams to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. Chief. Council, I will note that we do need to go into closed session for items 10B and 10C, which are pending or potential litigation and character or professional competence of an individual. That said, I will call for a motion to approve the agenda as outlined.
So made, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Ivy.
Second.
Second by Councilman Belliston. All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved unanimously. First order of business is announcements. I'll make note that on March 5th at 3 p.m., Findlay Hyundai at our new Sienna Hills Auto Mall will have a grand opening, and the public is invited to celebrate. That's been a great accomplishment for this city, and we hope it is the start of more great things to come. In fact, I would say that it continues the great momentum that we have. Also on March 11th, that's a Tuesday at noon, here at the newly renovated Heritage Hall, I'll be giving the State of the City address and would welcome any of you to come out and be up to date on the things we've accomplished and the things we plan to accomplish as an elected body. Council, before I get to our next announcement, are there any items that I may have missed that the council would like to bring forward? At this time, I'd like to invite Savannah Carr, Vicki Barrett, and Adeline Smith to come forward. Savannah and along with Vicki and Adeline, Savannah is a new dear friend of mine. In fact, she was introduced to me by Mayor Randall of the city of St. George, and she has got us both entirely supportive of what she's going to talk to you about today, and she wanted to come and talk to you about that, share that with you, and also express her gratitude and appreciation to you for the part that you've played in this. Miss Savannah, take it away.
Hello, my name is Savannah Carr, and I am here to talk to you about a project I am working on. First of all, there are a few things you should know. I am a Special Olympics athlete, and I have loved every minute of it. I have been doing Special Olympics for 20 years, and I do bocce ball, basketball, bowling, track and field, and I'm on a cheer and dance team. I have also been chosen 1 out of 10 athletes to be an athlete leader in the state of Utah, which is I am a spokesperson for the Special Olympics. And all of us have been chosen to do a project that in our community that helps our community learn more about the special needs community. And I have chosen to do a pageant because the reason I chose this pageant is because I did a pageant in Salt Lake, and I love doing that. And I noticed we don't have one down here, so I am going to get one started down here, and it is called Mr. and Mrs. Superstars. And the one in Salt Lake did not include boys, so this one down here is going to include boys as well. And the reason it is called Mr. and Mrs. Superstars is because that is my cheer team name. And we are all superstars. I would like to thank you all for letting me use the new refurbished gym for this event. It will be Saturday, September 27th. And I would like to personally invite all of you to come out and watch. You guys will be amazed at what these kids can do. Thank you for your time and hearing about my project. Hope to see you all there.
Savannah, would you mind staying here for just a minute? We had so much fun the other night, didn't we, when we toured that?
Yes.
And we got it all laid out. We know exactly where people are going to be.
Yes.
I am so excited for the Miss and Mr. Superstars pageant. So September 27th. And tell us who you have with you. You are our new resident rock star. Who do you have with you on either side? Who's your entourage here?
So I have my mom and my mentor, Addie, who was Miss Washington County. Now she is going to do Miss Southern Volunteer.
So cool. So cool. And
She's our pageant expert.
so you've got, I like to do that too. When you have a big event, you pull in some extra help. And so Miss Southern Utah, I mean, with pageant experience, who better could you choose? Tell us a little bit about what the pageant's going to entail. Do they have different categories that they compete in? Do they show off talents?
They will be showing off whatever 90-second talent they would like. We have 4 different categories, which is one will be judging, where the judges can interview each one of the participants one-on-one.
Okay.
Another one is going to be fun fashion, where any of the participants can wear whatever they want.
Are you going to be a participant?
Yes,
What are you gonna wear?
yes.
What are you gonna wear?
I don't know what I'm gonna wear yet. for
Keeping
that
your
one.
options open.
Yes. And then we have the talent portion. And then we have the red carpet where they get dressed in their nice dresses.
Might I recommend the earrings if they go? The earrings you're
Yes.
wearing tonight are wonderful.
Are you kidding? She's got rhinestones.
Oh, we're going a little bigger.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what do we have here? You gave us all a little something.
Those are just crowns to say thank you for letting me present my project to you guys, everybody tonight. And that you guys are all special.
Oh, my heck. So, before we clap, and we're going to, council, I want to take an unofficial vote. I need somebody from this body to move that we support the Miss and Mr. Superstars event, and we let them use Heritage Hall for the venue. Can we get a motion on that item?
I'll make a motion, we approve that, Mayor.
I have a motion by Councilman Coates,
And,
second by Councilman Henderson. All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Well, it's unanimous. You have the city's support, and
Thank you guys so much.
do you want your entourage to say anything, or have you covered it all?
I don't think there's anything left for us to say.
I think the only thing left to do is pictures with the mayor and council. And I don't know about the rest, but I'm going to be wearing my crown. Can we join you down there?
You might have to adjust them a little bit, but, I don't know, they look good.
Maybe this is a first for a city council meeting?
Can I come in the middle?
You have to get in the middle.
Let's see if this will work here. No. Thank you. We are so
You
proud
guys
of you.
so much.
That was the best presentation. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
amazing,
you.
Mama.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
See you in September.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you guys
I
so
love
much.
that you do all of those sports. That makes me.
You presented very well.
Thank you
so
Thanks
much.
for coming. Thank you for supporting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're off and running. Here we go.
We've already done like 5 or 6. We're up to 8.
It's gonna be epic.
We're up to 8. Put it online and it's up.
It's gonna be so cool.
Mayor, can we have Tara add that to our calendars?
Okay. The next item of business, council, any declarations of abstentions or conflicts to declare on this meeting agenda?
Yeah, Mayor, item 5A, I'm abstaining from.
5A duly noted. Anything else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. This is item 4A, approval of the minutes from the city council meeting of 2/12/25. Call for motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve consent agenda as outlined.
I have a motion by Councilman Belliston. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Coates. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved unanimously. We'll move on to award of bid. We have 3 bids for you to consider tonight, council. The first one is consideration to award the bid for the Washington City Solente Water Transmission Line Pipe Procurement to Ferguson Waterworks in the amount of $765,870.40. Our Assistant Public Works Director, Lester Dalton, will speak to that. As you've noticed in your packets, there's a little bit of adjustment to that amount. Lester, if you'll talk about the project, answer any questions, and give us the final amount.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Council. Sorry for the last minute change that came in. This has been a very dynamic process. We're trying to expedite everywhere that we can and keep things moving along so that we can get these critical facilities replaced. Hopefully I made it clear in the briefing document what we're trying to accomplish here. As we finalized drawings, we were able to realize that we could reduce the pipeline a little bit, which brought down some of the pipe expenses associated with it. And we're also to the point now where we can get at least an idea as to potentially how many restraint joints we're gonna have to accommodate the valves and stuff like that. So we chased down some pricing on that, and there's a significant savings if we purchase this as part of the pipe. The initial purchase should save us somewhere around about $50,000. So the current award that we would like to have made tonight is still to Ferguson Waterworks. The bid that we put out, they were definitely the low bid on that. They're able to meet our schedule that we need. Everything checked out really good with them. So the total award amount that we would like to have occur is $853,733.10. That would be the pipe that we need for the project, as well as the majority of the restraint gaskets. We want to be sure that we come in under so that we don't purchase something that doesn't get installed and leave some of that responsibility with the next bid when we bring the contractor on board.
Questions for Mr. Dalton?
I got a couple. So under the bid tab, it was $765, but on the briefing document, it's $738. What?
As we completed design, we're actually a shorter length than we had originally bid. So it's
Same unit price, it's just
same
less
unit
units.
price is just a lower overall total.
So how come ductile iron versus?
It's the diameter of the pipelines. We've got two 16-inch pipelines as well as a 24-inch diameter pipeline, and the anticipated longevity.
You got
The
16,
environment.
you got a 16-inch pipeline that's in PVC that's running between the two.
We do. We've also got some pretty extensive pressures, and it is a more durable product for the installation environment. The one pipeline we are replacing, it's also serving as an in-kind replacement. We've got the existing well line is ductile iron today. And that pipe's, it serves us very well. It is a little bit more expensive than PVC. But these are critical facilities. We want to be sure that we're doing everything we can to never have to go back to them.
What else, Councilman? Anything else?
Good, thank you.
Any additional questions, clarifications?
An engineer's estimate?
Not for the materials themselves. We do have a preliminary estimate. That's getting tightened up right now. We're just buttoning up design, so we're going to be able to get an overall cost estimate on the project as a whole. This award is the bulk of the materials only. And it's kind of a twofold request to do the materials initially. It's cost savings for us, where this is going in as immediate brick and mortar asset to the city. We can purchase the materials tax exempt for the contractor to install. We just have to be really careful to make sure we don't overshoot anything. So by doing it this way, we're able to save the state tax associated with it. If we had the contractor purchase the materials, that contractor would be paying the tax for installation.
What are you seeing on material costs right now?
Material
Down,
costs,
staying the same?
they've kind of leveled out a little bit. They went up and they came back down just a little bit, and now they seem to be holding pretty uniform from what I'm seeing, which is a good thing. They just kept going up and up, but seems like things have mellowed out a little bit, materials-wise.
Blake gave us the update on the need for this recently. What's your timeline on on construction?
The majority of the project, we're gonna be able to get in the ground. Hopefully, we can get out to bid within the next, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks, we can get out to bid. Then we've got to get through the bid process, give the contractor an opportunity to get bonds in place. We are gonna have some other materials that hopefully we don't have delays on. But I would like to be underway with the majority of the project within the next couple of months. Some of it is going to have to wait until fall. There's no way around it. We're gonna have to take a tank offline, and we're just not gonna be able to do that in the heat of the summer.
Yeah. All right, council, if there's no further discussion on this, I'm looking for a motion to approve a bid awarded to Ferguson Waterworks in the amount of $853,733.10. This is for the Washington City Solente Water Transmission Line Pipe Procurement. That's a mouthful.
So made.
Have a motion by Councilman Bellison. Is there a second?
Second with a comment, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Ivy with the comment.
I appreciate that you're working to save money for us. That's always good to hear and to recognize that if there's ways to do that, to save taxpayers some money, we appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
One abstention, Mayor.
That bid is approved unanimously, 4-0. Thank you, Lester. Item 5B is consideration to award the bid for the Grapevine Substation Steel Structure to Stoddard Steel in the amount of $231,920. And I see Jake and Chad both from the Power Department. You guys can do rock, paper, scissors, or whoever.
We're going to take turns.
Okay. Go
on
ahead,
this
Jake.
time.
Good to see you both. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you, and thank you, Mayor and Council.
And just for note, we hope Rick, the power director, is doing well in DC. I know he's got some responsibilities there with UAM, so
Yes.
it's good he can rely on you both.
Where can a guy get one of those cool shirts?
We'll let him know to get you one. Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. So we received 7 bids for the substation steel. They ranged from $232,000 to $591,000 for pricing and 8 to 52 weeks on delivery. Fortunately, the low bidder, Stoddard Steel, also has the best delivery time. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation to award the bid to Stoddard Steel in the amount of $231,920. We welcome any questions or comments from the council or mayor.
Questions, comments?
Nope, I think it looked good. I think we just need to get that steel ordered so we can get going on it.
I might note too that we were pleased that it came in about 20% below engineering estimates, so.
Fantastic.
Once again, another
Well, the
financial
ground is
support.
ready. We have, and the block wall is up, so let's get it going. Councilman Coates, mind making the motion on this?
I would love to. I'll make a motion. We approve the Grapevine Substation Steel Structures to Stoddard Steel in the amount of $231,920.
Have a motion by Councilman Coates. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Ivy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The item is approved unanimously. Next item is 5C. Don't go too far. Consideration to award the bid for the Grapevine 69 kV steel poles to CHM Industries in the amount of $446,357.65. Go ahead, Chad.
Yes, in continuation of the substation project, we need to tie together our transmission lines between Main Street and the Grapevine substation, and then down Buena Vista to our existing crossing. We received 4 bids ranging from $446,000 at 18-week delivery time to just over $600,000 and a 51-week delivery time. We've never used CHM, who is the low bidder, before, but we have received some good input from them. These are in the fiscal year of 2025 budget, so we would like to try to get these going now if we can, just so we don't have any cost tariffs that could incur more costs. So, any questions?
Questions, comments? Councilman Bellison?
Yeah, so we're doing a segment along the Parkway to Main Street to the new substation. and then it says the existing freeway crossing. That's the one over there by the RV park that goes
Yes,
across right there?
That's correct, yeah.
But
The
Chad-
self-supporting structure that's at the.
But it runs along I-15, right?
Yes,
So it runs on the north side of I-15 from that point over to the substation.
yes. Along, basically paralleling.
That's what we're putting in.
Yes, it's just replacing the poles that are there.
Yeah, there's
It's
an
a new-
existing distribution line that's paralleling there that will be replaced by this steel structure line. So it'll be a transmission line with a distribution underbuild. So it will parallel Buena Vista up to the Grapevine substation on the north side of I-15.
Do you guys install this stuff, or do you have an outside contractor?
We're hoping to have our crews install it.
Oh, nice.
Save us some money.
You're doing great work. I'm happy to entertain a motion, council, if someone's ready.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve the Grapevine 69 kV steel poles to CHM Industries in the amount of $446,357.65.
You've heard the motion by Councilman Coates. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Belliston. All in favor? Any opposed? The bid is awarded as stated and approved unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mayor. and
You don't
Council.
have to stay around.
I hope not. Thanks.
Not. Don, you're not done yet. And you don't even work for the city, and I tell you that you're not done yet. Next item of business is item 6, ordinances. 6A, this is consideration to approve an ordinance for general plan amendment G-25-01 from low density to medium density located at approximately 4200 South and Crimson Cliffs Way, singular. The applicant is S&S Homes, and Drew Ellerman, Community Development Director, will present to the council on this item.
Thanks, council. It's been a while. I'll get back into that. So the applicant is seeking to amend the general plan land use map in the area stated by the mayor as 4200 South Crimson Cliffs Way. The requested area covers approximately 19.31 acres. The current land use designation is low-density residential. That low-density residential carries the density ratio of 3 to 4 dwelling units per acre and allows for the R110 or R112 zoning designations. The applicant's proposal is to change the general plan from the low-density residential to medium-density residential for the possibility of developing the area into a future subdivision project. Medium density carries a density ratio of 4.5 to 6 dwelling units per acre and allows for the R16, R18, and the R2 zoning designations. Staff has concerns if it was to go to R2 or R16, that could follow an approved amendment. However, staff does feel comfortable with the R18 as it blends in with surrounding developments. Staff has expressed this with the applicant, and the applicant has made it known that their intent is to seek out for the R18 zoning. The surrounding general land use designations around the property are low density to the north and south, civic to the west, and low density and medium density to the east. On February 29th, 2025, the Planning Commission reviewed this request and unanimously recommended approval of G-25-01 to amend the general plan land use map from the current low density to the proposed medium density residential as outlined above and shown in the exhibit in the council's packet. I'll be glad to answer any questions that the council might have on this project.
Councilman Ivey.
Can you share what the surrounding zonings are exactly? You said it conforms, but just to put it on the record what they are.
Let me, if it's all right, council, I'll just kind of bring up the map here and we'll the project is right here. It's currently zoned R110. To the west is RA1, but that's the school, the high school and the middle school right there. To the north is Treasure Valley, which it's zoned RA1, but that's a bonus density program. And most of the homes that are bordering here are all around that 8,000 square foot size as well, 8 and 9. And then over on the east side, you have the R18 and R110, as you can see here. About halfway down is R18, then you have the church right there. And then on this, more the south end is R110, so it's gonna fit in nicely with that if they go to the R18, which is what the plan is.
Thank you.
Councilman Coates?
It was more of a question just for Drew, like, I know sometimes I've been able to, in my professional career, run the general plan and the zoning at the same time. Is there a reason why we don't do that on these types? Because they presented us with a layout, but it doesn't mean anything because it doesn't.
Yeah. That's why sometimes I don't encourage them to put a layout, but every once in a while it does help the council to see what their proposal is. But they don't have to, they're not stuck doing that.
Not stuck to it. It means nothing to me.
Yeah, our city, just to answer your question, our city has never ran them together because you're asking to, give two approvals, but if the general plan doesn't come, I mean, and then you could just say, well, it'd be automatic.
And they're different applications. They're in the same meeting where, hey, we're approving this and then we're approving that, especially on a project like this. If this is their plan, then let's just move forward on the zone change. I mean, I don't know if we can per our code. I just think I get uncomfortable going down a density but then they can, the staff has concern with the other two that are allowed in that general plan, but not this one. And so it makes me nervous saying, okay, I know this is their intent, but intents change really quick when you can do something different.
And the reason I've worked for communities that have done it both ways, and the one thing that I come back and say is that for the public, they feel like, oh, we're just rubber stamping things through when they do them side by side. I've always gotten that feel. I'm just telling you what comes.
I can see. And I'm just saying, I would like to see a general plan come through. If this is their plan and the zone change in the same, they can be different. They're different applications, but it's just like, okay, here's the general plan. Okay, here's the zoning. Just so we get it all in one meeting, but I don't know.
Maybe we can have a work session, Mayor, and maybe discuss that and see what everybody feels on that.
I mean, this is a great point. I think
there's both legal and practical reasons why they don't come at the same time. The legal one is one of the findings for every zone change is that it conforms to the general plan.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the general plan amendment was denied and staff made them come with a zone change amendment right after it, right? So
I wouldn't say the staff make them. I'm saying it's an option they could do.
Okay, but that's one of the practical ones, right? Because the legal standard for the zone change is that it conforms to the general plan. To bring them back to back presupposes approvals and then creates work that might not be necessary if there aren't approvals.
No, I understand what you're saying.
If I could just tag on to that, and when you go through because the public hearing process is only at the planning commission, and so you're asking them to make a recommendation based on that, it just gets a little, and we're not trying against it. I know where you're coming from. I
see where you're coming.
Works slick to do that, but
I'm saying we have to have a little bit of trust between each other, right? Like we hope that the developer is going to do this because there's this range. It's kind of that iffy area in my mind of, if this is your plan, and I always think it's crazy that they're going to come back in and we'll see them in another month, right? So it's a month or 2 weeks or whatever it is delay to get this now zone change in place. So we can save them time and save us time in one process. And I just think we're looking at better ways to be efficient. An option is all I'm bringing up.
One of the other things we've learned over the years is when the planning office does their job, it's very common that a general plan amendment would be approved by the council. And it's very common that the zone change that follows would be approved by the council. The challenge is if those happen in the same meetings, the citizens that showed up maybe with feedback or comments feel like it's all just predetermined and that we do a meeting and giving feedback might be something that isn't considered because there's already a subsequent application on the agenda. And so, again, that's more of a practical thing than a legal thing. There's no law that says we can't have those both on the same agenda, but the citizens that were to come and say, speak out against something would feel like that thing appearing on the agenda the same night assumed that their voices weren't going to be heard.
Councilman Ivey?
But to be very clear for those that may be watching at home, if this is approved for a general plan amendment to medium density, they're entitled to that general plan amendment, but the zoning still has to be applied for and granted by the city council, whether it's R16 or 8. And so just very clearly, they're two separate steps, but you have to do general plan first and zoning. They're not tied to each other as far as entitlements until they're approved.
Another challenge with how we do it is our planning office has to actually have staff that review a zone change application, and we could be creating duplicate time. If the general plan amendment were not to be approved, the staff time on that zone change application would essentially become a wash. And so all that said, it's not the most efficient process.
I see the applicant's engineer. Adam, would you like to come forward and maybe address some of the concerns that have been brought? And while you're settling in there at the mic,
Mayor, can I be clear? I don't have any concerns
just discussion. Fair enough.
for the discussion process.
Discussion. And I'll just for the record too, I'll make note that the public hearing occurred at the Plan Commission level, and while I did bounce out a little bit early that night, I think some of the discussion was in regards to the lot sizes. So if you could address the lot sizes, and we'll keep the process discussion a little more going internally. Adam.
Adam Allen with American Consulting and Engineering. So we're, just so you know, we're all for that. If you guys want to give that as an option, I know that most guys probably would say, yeah, let's submit both at the same time, and we'd run them at the same time and try to get both at the same time. So I like that, Craig. So anyways, but other than that, the lot sizes, they are R18, but if you look at the actual density, if you do the math, it's only like a 3 density. So it would fit under a normal general plan of low density, other than the zoning of R18 is outside of that general plan designation.
What's your average lot size roughly?
They're in between 8,000 and 9,000.
Just kind of where you're gonna settle in.
Yeah, and basically because Crimson Cliffs Way being that 66-foot street, we're not gonna front it. And so everything faces internal, so we're building another street. And so to get all those roads to work together, it just ended up to get the lots.
How soon do you anticipate bringing an R18 zone application?
So I'm gonna submit that application tomorrow.
For R18?
Yes.
We do a lot of work with you, Adam,
Yeah.
and we know and trust you, but that gives, I think, this voting body some reassurance that, there's places for R16 and R2 zoning, but I think R18 makes sense here.
And S&S doesn't really build in that size of space for the most part. They build mostly in that R18, R110 type of stuff. And for them, it was mostly just getting, hey, since we're kind of building another road against that other road, we had to kind of make the lot count still work, so.
So I got a general question for you, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really have to do, but you understand that East Road's got to be fully improved all the way up and down, and that North Road
There's been
needs-
lots and lots of discussions about that Medallion Way and what has to be done with it. They're fully aware about the improvements and 4200 South being
as long
completed.
as you're aware.
Yep.
And the city's position on it.
They're looking very forward to that, I might add.
Okay. So.
It'll be a nice subdivision, when it gets to that point. We're only in the general plan amendment right now. Further discussion on the general plan amendment.
Just a curiosity.
Yeah, no, that was brought up, I don't know how many times. That was actually.
So you'll submit that application tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll submit it tomorrow. It's ready.
If this is approved.
Everything's ready to go. As
Good.
soon as- If this is approved, I'll submit that tomorrow.
Okay.
So.
Further discussion, further comment, and/or a motion on this, Councilman Casperson?
Yeah. I make a motion to approve an ordinance for a general plan amendment G-25-01 from low density to medium density located approximately at 4200 South and Crimson Cliffs Way.
You've heard the motion by Councilman Casperson. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Ivy. This is an ordinance, so we'll go roll call vote, starting with Councilmember Belliston.
Aye.
Henderson.
Aye.
Coates.
Aye.
Ivy. Casperson. Item 6A is approved unanimously. We'll see you in a few weeks on the next step. Next item of business, 6B. This is consideration to approve an ordinance for zone change Z-25-01 to update the existing PCD zoning for Long Valley Trails located approximately at Long Valley Road and Southern Parkway. The applicant is D.R. Horton, and Community Development Director Drew Ellerman will present to us once again on a land use ordinance. It's nice to have you doing this again, Drew.
Thanks, Mayor.
I know you've got that assistant now, but you're back in the saddle.
Fond memories, I'll tell you. The applicant, as stated, is requesting approval to amend Section 2 of the Long Valley PCD The applicant is proposing the following changes. A new pod layout map designating land for the future fire station, along with a 14-unit increase in density from the maximum of 2361 up to a maximum of 2375, and converting the apartment pods to townhomes instead of condos or apartments. It came to the developer's attention that the area left open in pod 26, which I'll just kind of give my arrow over there so you kind of know where it's coming right there. Had preliminary discussions for an elementary school, which is not going to work now with the school district. With that being said, and to accommodate the conversion of the 254 apartments to townhomes, the open space area in pod 26 is being proposed to be built out as townhomes. And the bullet point list of the changes are as follows. So in section 2 of the PCD project plan, the new pod layout map, which is what you see before you right here, designating land over here on this.
So I can't see 2. Oh, you said 32.
Yeah, 32. Section 2 is this map of the designation. And I just kind of zoned in on this part of it. 32 is being created for a fire station over here. I'll bounce my arrow so you can kind of see it off there. And that's where the increase in density comes. This parcel, for D.R. Horton to give the parcel up for the fire station, they did an equivalent of what would needed in for equaling that out, and they came to 14 units. I think we've talked about this at a time. The council is aware of that, just letting the public know. So that's why the increase in 14 units is for that fire station lot. To convert the apartment pod, which is 21 here on both sides, these were both slated to be originally condos, and it went to apartments. And now they're just realizing, because there's a whole different company in D.R. Horton, not from down here, that does that. They're just not interested in doing that anymore. So they want to just turn them into townhomes. And because the number of townhomes versus the number of apartments, they can't fit as many dwelling units as per apartment units. So that's why 26, where the school was going to go, which is right here on, if you can see, there we go. That's where the school was going to go. So they just want to turn that into townhomes. Again, the only increase on all the density, the units, is the 14 for the fire station. Other than that, they're still going to be within their overall count. And then I think that covers all of the changes on the site plat, the site plan map. Staff has no concerns with the proposed changes as outlined. Last week, on February 19, 2025, the Planning Commission, through a public hearing request, reviewed this request and unanimously recommended approval of Z-25-01 for this zone change request with the findings and conditions recommended by staff. And this is on to you, the City Council, for that approval. And I'll be glad to answer any questions I can for you if you have any.
Councilman Ivey?
Yes, Drew, how many acres are we carving out for the fire station?
1.49.
And that's plenty for what they need?
I hope that they've talked it over with the fire department. Don's giving the yes that they have met with them, and that's sufficient for what they need.
Further questions?
When is it required for them to build the road to the new interchange? When does that kick in?
The ongoing
Is that what they
conversation.
refer to as the golden question? I don't.
Required that they build a road, but we haven't required that they finish it to and dedicate it as a public road. So,
but
their approval required a second access. Crossed that bridge probably a year ago, Don. When we eventually said, look, you're at the amount of lots that require this, but you're right, it's not a paved road.
Right now that road does not go through. Right now, we're still using the emergency access onto SR7. So I think Councilman's question is when do they intend to actually push that road through so that it can be used even for an emergency? It's not capable right now.
John might be able to
Go
come
ahead,
up and talk
John,
with that.
and then I see the applicant. Adam, are you with the Don as well? So be on deck there if you want to chime in, feel free.
Good evening. Yes, actually, that secondary access road, we are currently reviewing plans, working on that to get that extended out there. The development agreement is a bit vague on the requirement of exactly when it is to go in. We did work a year ago to get the secondary emergency access point in. It is functioning. The plans that we're working on right now would be to put the road in out there with a road base for right now.
But at some point, it needs to be paved. So
Correct,
when
at
does
some point.
And I don't think it needs to be curb and gutter and all that, because it could be a different section. It's just when do we get it paved? Because
Yeah, the PCD plans do call out that it's only a rural cross-section road, so it won't have curb and gutter on it. It's something that Don and I have been working on and trying to come up with a good determination as when we hit that requirement for paving it and actually having the full road there. Like I said, the development agreement's rather vague in regards to
But
what that
we were pretty clear when we
trigger is.
approved it, it had to be paved. I don't think we were clear on the exact number when it was gonna be, but we talked about it being paved when we approved the original PCD.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the discussion was when the interchange came in as well, which is now complete.
Which is now done.
There was no reason to pave it until there was something for it to attach to.
100% agree. I just don't want us to get clear down to have one place left and have nowhere to, and whose responsibility is, I always assumed it was theirs.
It is theirs. It is their responsibility to pave.
The interchange is done, and also George Washington Boulevard is extended.
Extended,
So
yes.
it's now practical access.
Right, and it's one of the things that Don and I have been talking about, and I don't want to put words in his mouth or anything, but I've been pushing him that it makes more sense to proceed with actually paving it than putting out a road base for an emergency secondary access. That could, literally is gonna cost him more money because we're gonna have road base out there, it's gonna get contaminated, it's gonna have to be reprocessed, removed, replaced, whatever, depending upon how long it would sit there. I know Don is rather open to my suggestions in regards to paving it sooner rather than later and stuff, but he's working with his company and stuff in regards to that. And there's different options that we're looking at to get that paved and tie into these non-completed subdivision portions that are up there yet. So we have to look at those subdivisions that are still yet to be built and tying it into either Lost Springs or Long Valley and stuff like that. So we are working on it, and I'm not sure where, Don can answer where he's at with his discussions with corporate and stuff, but I think that we could be within a year of having that actually in place. So.
It would be nice to have a number that's a trigger. And I've found those to be helpful over the past, while we're talking about the preliminary design and the cross-section, does it contemplate a trail that's designed, I mean, Long Valley trails, and then would tie into the city trails? So I'd be interested to hear your feedback and the applicants, kind of feedback on that.
Parks Department, Joe Horton, and us in review of the plans and stuff.
And then the trail specifically along the extension south of Long Valley
Yes,
Drive or whatever it's called?
Actually, the state's been working, it's gonna be connected with the state trail, that'd be along the parkway and stuff, and actually come in, parallel this road and come into the subdivision and stuff. So it's already designed into the total road cross-section for this extension.
You can see that. It's showing up on there, so that faint neonish green line.
It's between the parkway and?
Yes, it would be between the parkway and the extension of Long Valley Road, so. And I believe the new cross-section for that trail would be like 12-foot wide or something like that, so.
Further questions for staff? Invite the applicant and the applicant's representative, if necessary, to come forward and address what you've heard in the conversation. Welcome, Don.
Thank you. Don Bean with D.R. Horton. We are planning on putting that road in immediately. We have all of the engineering drawings to the city, and John's reviewing them now. And as soon as he gets those approvals or any red lines back to us again, we'll get those corrected, and we'll immediately start on that road.
Define the road,
Originally, we'll put in the gravel road first, but we do plan to use that as the second access for the construction. And so the plan is for us to pave it through the BLM property that we have to connect to ours. We still don't have that connection yet, or as you can see, we're building towards that connection on the south end of our property. And so I can't tell you exactly where we're gonna pave and where we're not. We haven't had that determination yet, but.
But
the
you are
plan-
gonna pave the BLM section?
Yes.
And that makes sense to me that you're gonna work from both ends and work toward with your main corridor.
Yeah.
I just don't want you to get to the end of your project, and be like, well, we're out of
And
money,
not
I
have
can't
it
build
paved.
it.
Totally understand that, and
So that was my only
that's in our
concern.
plan.
So what assurance do we have then, though, that won't happen?
Can we make a condition that it's paved within a year and a half? I don't know.
I just don't want to tie my hands on exactly when, and I understand your position. so
There's
I'm
got to
just-
be a reasonable, I like
Right.
unit numbers. I like C of Os or whatever metrics make sense to me.
Do you have currently finished, and how many units are under construction?
We have about 550 finished, or, yeah, close to 500 finished, and probably 150 under construction.
Let's clarify one thing though, if you would. So you mentioned BLM. You have to get permission from BLM?
We
or
have
is it-
a right-of-way through
You
BLM.
have a right of way already, because that can
And that
extend
it also includes that trail, that 12-foot trail
Okay.
along the side.
Don't have to wait on that.
What do you feel comfortable with, Don? You've been a good to the city. I want to make sure we work with you.
Yeah, and we want it in there maybe more so than you do to help with our development. I just don't
Want it
know
pretty
how
bad.
much authority I have to commit D.R. Horton to put in the road at this time.
Well, I'm trying to work at a condition that we
Yeah.
put a unit count tonight to get your PCD moved forward, so I'm trying
Yeah,
to
I
ask.
just haven't gone over it with our land development guy yet.
Comfortable with a timeline?
No.
Right.
I'm not just teasing. I'm just.
So Don, let me propose something, and then you tell me if it's acceptable.
Okay.
Because you're putting in a lot of houses fast. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying it needs to be done immediately. You're working toward that. I just think it needs to be done. I would like to say 1,000 units, you have to have that road paved. And I think that's fair. But, because you're at 500, you're building 150, you got another, year and a half of,
Yeah. Yeah, we do about 300 a year,
so,
350 a year.
I don't know.
Councilman
That's
Henderson.
what I'd propose.
Yeah, give us a date by which you can come in and have this discussion and have, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, go talk to whoever you need to talk to, come back 1 month from now and we have the discussion and make some,
The condition of approval that we have that meeting and agree upon a number.
Okay, that I can do. My concern is I want to get the road started and I want to get this going and I want to start changing, moving the development along. And so. if
We're just
you're
trying to give you an option to go
Yeah,
talk to
give me an
your
option to
peoples.
go back and talk with our land development guys and not have to keep another delay to keep us from.
I think it'll be better for everyone just to know, here's what to expect, when to expect.
Mhm.
Then we just, it makes it a clean relationship.
Yeah, I really think we can do that within the year. But,
I'm just saying the 1,000 units. I was thinking 1,000 units.
yeah, that'll
'cause
give us a little more time.
more time.
Or maybe you say
And is that just
1,000
through the
units
BLM,
or
just the BLM
24
property, or
months.
is
Just
it-
the BLM property. I'm just trying to get it to it.
Mhm.
And then
So
it's
you're
your
not stuck
development. You
trying to
decide
figure
when
it
you
out,
want to
yeah.
build within your development. I'm saying that outside of your development, I'm concerned about it not being pushed off.
Could you do something like 1,000 units, but if they hit that and it wasn't, they could come back and discuss it again with the council?
You can always come discuss stuff like this.
Hate to see the project
I'm not trying to hold it up.
Yeah.
stop at any point. I don't think.
But if we put something on it, then at least it's like, hey, we gotta address this. And that's all I'm trying to do is address
Yeah.
it before it's too late.
I just don't want to see any unforeseen event that would keep us from finishing that, and then I'm stuck for holding this up.
what if we say, part of the approval tonight is that you come back in, I don't know, 60 days with a
Hard,
know,
fast, a number saying.
yes,
This, we'll have it
or
in on
something.
this
Does that
date
work?
or this time.
We all have leverage, right? And if we approve it tonight.
Yeah.
Days, you can say, well, you have.
I like it because as council members, we realize that we put out things up here And it really puts the applicant at a disadvantage because you have to agree to something that you really don't know the answer to in this case, or we make a condition to do something you don't know the cost of it.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of allowing you some time to go and check with your offices and decide and then bring it back. I don't know that we're so worried about a time constraint tonight, are we? Or
Worried about just we're approving something and then we don't have the number. So I would rather just stay with 1,000 if you need to change it, then come back and talk to us.
Okay.
I mean, we've been workable before. I don't know if the 1,000
Yeah, the
number,
council's
if
been
it's-
really reasonable, and I just don't want to commit to something and not be able to perform.
Yeah, I'd like to stick with the 1,000 units and then you can come back if that doesn't work. But I'm trying to plan for the year and a half before before it gets paved as you're working toward the south, and then you can work from the north. If you already have construction plans into the
Yeah. That's why I
Public
feel
Works.
fairly confident that we're on our way, but.
I'm open to other options.
Okay.
I just don't think the intention of the council is to shut down their project. And so I would hate getting to that point and having us have to delay things because I think everybody's working in good faith, so I understand where you're coming from.
What would you recommend, Jeremy?
You won't like my answer, but I have a lot of trust in our relationship with D.R. Horton and with Don, and I believe they're working in good faith. So I wouldn't necessarily put something on it, but that's totally up to you as a council. They've done a good job of working with us. We want the project to continue. They want it to continue. So I just hate something that causes a slowdown at any point.
No, just be clear, I'm not trying to slow anything down. I'm just trying to make sure that there's a point in the development that you're like, hey, we got to get this done.
Yeah.
Because it is such a unique thing where it's a road through a BLM piece and it's not in the project. There's no houses on it. It's hard to sell a road that, you got to spread those costs over way more units than.
Yeah.
I'm just trying
And
to do it sooner
frankly,
than later.
the road solely benefits your project.
Yes, and it makes our development better. And so in our internal discussions, we've said, I think in the PCD, it talks about reevaluating at a certain point when we get to a certain number. If and when it needs to be paved, we believe it needs to be paved to make our development work and run better and be better.
So is 1,200 going to work for you? I'm trying to figure it out.
Do you want a condition? Do you want to come back? What are you thinking, Don?
I hate committing my.
Councilman Coates, obviously, they're hearing this, that it's a concern of the council.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with approving as is tonight, but I'm sure that Don understands if he comes in with another approval or another submittal for something, he's gonna get beat up a little bit worse than he is tonight. Right? So,
Yeah.
But the only,
next time he's gonna come in with a little bit better answer, because he
and I know I threw it, it wasn't on your radar that I was going to ask that. And I would just say, I'm not trying to.
I'm okay with it as is.
Then if the majority is, then we'll just move forward. I'm just saying we better get it figured out, and maybe you can report to us when you have the answer of what your plan is in the near future.
Yeah, so I would.
Councilman Casperson, Councilman Henderson, your thoughts on the road? And
I'm fine with moving forward as is tonight, but, maybe you can just make a verbal commitment to us. Hey, I'm gonna check into this and maybe I'm gonna come back in 60 days and we'll discuss it.
Happy to do that.
Would that be okay?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
Councilman Casperson?
I'm gonna go away from the road. I feel like it's been
Driven.
established. Talked about that. I just want to say, I did watch the Planning Commission, and I can understand, some of the frustrations of the residents there. They were excited about having an elementary there, and then that didn't go through. And it sounds like there was a lot of good effort on your part, on your company's part, to get that going after 2 years of negotiations. And then they decided they didn't want to no longer put it there. And so I can understand their frustrations, but then I also like the changes that you've made and having, getting rid of the apartments and then increasing the townhomes, because that will increase opportunities for residents to have home ownership. And so I feel like overall, this is a good change for our community. It'll be a good impact. And so I just wanted to share that, and I'm supportive of this change, even though I do want to recognize that, I can, can sympathize with some of the parents and.
Yeah, and we did too, and we were probably just as hurt that we weren't going to have a school there as they were. We had really planned on it, and we thought it would add to the community.
Churches and schools both make for good community assets. Is there just one church site?
Just one church site.
Great. Council, this is, I think, the way land use ought to work collaboratively. We appreciate you, Don, bringing this forward. These are well thought. I know you've been working on this for a long time, and this council is very familiar with your project. And any further discussion on the topics and the excellent points that Councilwoman Casperson brought up?
I think this is second best thing to a school. I mean, I thought your solution was nice, like Councilwoman Casperson said, gives the opportunity for more people to get into a nice townhome, and I really like it. So.
Thank you, and thank you again for the council support and their vision when it was presented, and I really appreciate your support. And I think what we had envisioned when we started is really what's coming together, and I'm hoping that you think so too. I want it to continue to go just as it has been. And thank you for
very nice
putting that through.
Comment, Mayor, and then I can make a motion if you're ready.
Yes.
I just, the way the process came about for the fire station, that's what good government is. That's what good business ownership is, and representing your company is that we can have those honest conversations. And in the end, it benefits you. It benefits us by not having to lay out millions of dollars for property for a fire station. It benefits you not only because you recoup some of those losses, but it benefits your development as well. So I'm willing to make that motion, Mayor, if you're ready.
I'm ready for motion. Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance for zone change Z-25-01 to update the existing PCD zoning for Long Valley Trails located approximately Long Valley Road and Southern Parkway with one additional condition, and that is that within 60 days, you'd come in and give us an update on what you found out from your corporate office and what we can plan on as to the road and when it will be paved.
You've heard Councilman Ivy's motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Casperson. Let's go roll call, starting with Councilmember Henderson.
Aye.
Coates. Ivy.
Aye.
Casperson. Belliston. The zone change amending the PCD is approved unanimously. And we'll see you again in a few months. We have no need to continue the workshop. So we'll move along to a report of officers from assigned committees. We'll start with Councilman Belliston. Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple of things. Number one, we had a mosquito abatement district meeting, and a couple times a year they go over their finances with us, and I'll have to say that the mosquito abatement district was Doge before Doge was cool. They rival Bryan as far as keeping track of their budget very closely. So
is that Sean Ammett over there?
They're not quite to Bryan's level, but close.
And then they have, what do they have? One line for income, and then they spray the mosquito. One expense and one income.
There's some complications there.
They want the dead mosquitoes, don't they?
I guess there's also an expense for those.
There were two in my spa
calendars.
the other night.
Thad and I had a good meeting at the Shade Tree Committee meeting today. One of my favorite meetings to go to, and we were able to just discuss some shade tree business in the city, and it was.
Maybe the sad news about the big ash tree in front of the old museum?
Yeah, one of the big giant ash trees in front of the museum is struggling and probably will have to be taken down and replaced.
Facing Telegraph?
It's the big one right next to the boiler. You know where the boiler is?
It's really big, the big shade.
It's a big, thick one. The canopy's been reduced over the years from death. There's kind of a hole on the side, and you can put a measuring tape 18 inches in before it hits the other side. It's hollowed out in the interior from just, they think insects and termites and ants for the most part have just inhabited that for a long time, and the tree's not vigorous enough to defend them out anymore. And so the recommendation there was that it would be removed at some point.
Do they stump it out all the way then?
Yeah, it'll come down and be ground out. And the good news is the Shade Tree Committee's robust, and they're already talking about the next trees that might replace it.
Can I ask you guys about another tree I was talking about today? There's the old firehouse here, and there's kind of a tree right out in front of it. And I was wondering today, I was talking with Shelley, if that one's dead or alive. We talked about maybe asking Paul, but maybe you guys have considered that one already.
No, that one's not on the purview of the shade. I think it's just a feral tree. That one, yeah, that one can come or go. It's just a weed tree.
Thanks, Mayor.
Great updates. Councilman Coates?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Councilman Ivy?
Yeah, so let's start with the MPO report. But before I do, I just want to tell you what great leadership we have from the city on the MPO board. The executive committee for DTEC. It's really good stepping into that the first of the year, be able to see the groundwork that's already been laid by Blake and his staff, John, everyone that's been there. It's really reassuring to me to know that we're well advocated for. But just some quick updates. These are some of the topics that I would share with the council. The first thing is they talked about signage for trails, etiquette that would run throughout the county. I think that we're already on that. And I think that we're kind of leading now with trail etiquette. There's just been some question as trails are added, what if we could come to a common language, but I know our trails are already signed, the signages are up, so I don't know that we would need to ever change those. I would certainly want to pay for them twice. But then we also were successful in reassigning funds that were previously programmed to Washington City's Red Hills Parkway widening and to a project to extend Washington City Main Street. And that was a great thing for us to do that, but it was foresight on Blake's part that enabled that to happen, to be able to get that money, which is $890,000 for that project that will be coming up. And also approved was $140,000 to Virgin River Trail from Washington City to in Sunrise Valley along the Virgin River to Grandpa's Pond in Hurricane, which is 7 miles long. And that was really a great acquisition there as well, or great approval for our city. And then the last thing, and this is just for information, but UDOT has come up with an idea, and it's being talked about widening Bluff Street in St. George to 7 lanes. So I remember as a kid playing there, and when they cut those initial roads in back in the 70s, I was heartbroken because that was our best motorcycle riding ground in the entire country. But anyway, that will be widened to 7 lanes. I just thought that would be interesting. Probably the most important report that I'm going to give this entire year is this next one that has to do with a bill that it has been drafted, but it has not been introduced in the Senate yet. It's one that's ringing a lot of alarms throughout the state already. And Mayor, I might take a minute, but if I might. So this is, I wrote just something briefly about it because it's that important. This is a bill that is entitled Land Use and Development Amendments. Sounds innocuous, but it's not.
Who's the sponsor?
The sponsor is Kurt Cullimore. He's just gained leadership this year in the Senate. So SB 337, which is Land Use and Development Amendments, just dropped today. This legislation creates a new state-level economic development agency called the Beehive Development Agency, which will pretty much control large economic development projects that the state deems beneficial to the long-term economic growth of the state. It wraps a lot of existing regional and local economic boards and agencies under the purview of this new agency. The problem is, as I have read and I've heard from others, these big projects can and will move forward with state control and very little local input or consent. The state would also collect and benefit from the taxes generated through these economic development projects. Legislative policy is having a meeting at noon tomorrow, and we will look at marshaling the troops in opposition. It's being run by the Senate Majority Leader, so it must be important to him. It's one of those late in the game, strategic drops, monstrous bills, 5,000 lines that could be pushed through quickly. We will dive deeper into this bill and its importance as time rolls on. But as soon as we heard about this and the alarms went up, Legislative policy reached out, and I called and talked to the associate director about it and got some lay of the land on the Hill and kind of got the background on exactly what's going on there. But something that's really important, Mayor, that I just am, really thankful for is that I reached out to our 6 legislators. Technically Walt Brooks isn't ours, but he is ours. He's not our area, but he's one of our guys. Neil Walters is one of our guys, but he's not actually on our boundary. But 5 of the 6 responded within an hour, and they are all ears. They want to hear what our concerns are. I've listed some of those today, but what it would do in our city, I think it'd be important to have Rusty also weigh in on this going forward, because her group has already reached out and spoken in great opposition to this bill. And I do think it was very strategic the way it dropped, and I think that it could have some negative impacts, because as you read the bill, and I suggest that each of you do that, you'll see that the board that's being created is a 12-member board. But the people that are on that board, there's not local city councils or mayors or commissioners on it. There's 2 senators, 2 House of Representatives, and then the governor can assign 5 people from his office. But the bill, as you read it, looks to me like it was developed for the development of the Draper property where the old prison was. That and the fairgrounds and a few other specific items, but that's going to take the rest of the state along for that ride. And then, for example, if you look at Warner Valley, you've got BLM land out there, you've got Sitlin land out there, and this bill would affect Sitlin land going forward as well, that they would deem that as something that would be valuable to the state. They could step in, like I said, and absurd our being able to act in what we feel would be the best benefit for our city. So again, we scream from the mountaintops, don't preempt us. Let us be partners, work together for the betterment of our citizens, not only in Washington, but in our county and throughout the state. So I think this is one, council, that I want to take a few extra minutes and share. It's very important. I'll be on that Zoom call tomorrow at 11, and then I can keep you informed on that going forward if you'd like me to, but it's something that we need to pay a lot of attention to.
Councilman Ivey, I have a question. Is there a way that they can just, if it's for the Draper area, why can't they just limit it to that county up there? Why are they doing the whole state? Because one of the things we always have a problem with is they inflict legislation on the whole state for one problem area in the Salt Lake Valley, not in Southern Utah. Is just so much different, and our demographic is just different. And so maybe that's something you can mention is, hey, why don't you just limit it to the areas that matter in northern Utah? Why are you hitting us with it?
Well, what's interesting, Councilman, is that the board members that will be on this 12-person board to oversee this, one of them is specifically from Salt Lake County, and one can be from Draper, the municipality closest to these big projects. But I see it as there's one in Draper. There's also the fairgrounds, and then I don't remember the third one, but they're all geographically in different counties. But I will suggest that and talk about it and see if we can dial it back, because I don't want to get caught in that umbrella. I don't think that's a good, even though we'd like the rain, we don't want that umbrella, to be over us. I don't see that as a benefit to our city, and there's major concern about it even right now.
Well, thank you for all your work there on the Hill. Council, we appreciate that. I'm sure you're looping in Jordan and Eric as well on that.
He'll be back tonight, and we'll talk first thing in the morning.
Thank you. Councilwoman Casperson. Neither do I. We'll move on to the next item, which is city manager report. Jeremy?
I don't have anything. I would make one comment to your question. We already have an economic development group that's worried about Washington City, and it's this group sitting right here. And so when the state does this, it's to say, hey, we as the legislature want to pick what's best for your city. They know exactly what they're doing. Maybe I'm being too bold by saying that, but they say, we want to be the ones to pick, and we'll decide what's best for Washington City. That's the struggle that we always have. So anytime that they're, we're the state, we're here to help. That's the new, we're from the government, we're here to help.
I wonder how they feel when the federal level of government does the same thing to them at the state level.
I think Jordan will share that with you when he gets back.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, we'll move now. We do have need to go to closed session, which is item 10. For 10B, pending or potential litigation, and 10C, character or professional competence of an individual. I'll call for a motion to move into closed session.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Casperson, second by Councilman Bellison. We'll go roll call as we need a majority here. We'll start with Councilmember Coates. Ivy?
Aye.
Casperson? Belliston? Henderson? We will move into closed session, and if you want to take a quick break, we'll be in the boardroom in about 5 minutes.